So I want to make a video showing how I create the main image in this post. I took some shopping down to my mum last night and she gave me these cuttings of a couple of flowers she got in the garden, which I've taken some shots of this morning. So you can see the images loaded into Capture One, which is the software I use, quite similar to Lightroom. If I open up the first image, have a look at it. By the way, in Capture One, there's a handy little tool, default on the keyboard, toggles it on and off, and it shows you what part of the image is in focus. There you go, highlighted in green. Now, I want this image, I want the part of the flower to be in focus, mainly to be the stamen and anthers. So as I move down through the images, I'm going to look to see, right, okay, I've just got a little bit of the highlighted green. Yeah, it's that image there on the yellow center of the flower. So everything from that image to the start I want to remove. So I marked those as red. If I just go into here and just show the images that basically exclude the images that I've marked as red. So now go back to that image. That is the first image that I want to form my stack. If I carry on down, now what's quite important here is that the center of the flower, the yellow, the blue petal behind it, I don't want that to be in focus, so I want to go as far as to try to get as much of the center of the flower in focus, but I don't want the flower, the petal behind, the blue petal behind, to be in focus. So I think, just have a little bit of it, I think pretty much that will do it. So anything after that image, I want to get rid of. Oh, that is actually the last image in my stack. So yeah, those images there are the ones that I want to form my stack. How many we've got there? 46 images. So what I'm going to do is to export those out of Capture One, which I'm doing here now. I'm going to write them to be processed for Zareen. I want them to be full quality JPEG images. So you can see that will give me each image to be 14 megabytes. I've actually tried exporting them as TIFF files because unfortunately Zareen Stacker doesn't accept RAW files. It's either JPEG or TIFF, but you end up with over 100 megabytes per image if you export to TIFF. And if you've got, I don't know, say 100 images in a stack, each over 100 megabytes in size, it really hammers your computer and just slows the whole process down. And I don't see a difference, so I just export to JPEG. So okay, hit the process button there, and that now is going to export to a folder where they'll then import them into Zareen. So that'll take a little while to do. And when it's finished, we'll pick up in Zareen Stacker. These are the images I've just exported from Capture One. So I want to highlight all of those and drag them into Zareen Stacker and stack those images using both methods. Right, so Zareen Stacker has almost finished its processing. It's probably taken about 5 minutes to work through those 46 images, and there we go. So the next stage is to edit the stacked image from the two versions that Zareen Stacker has created. Click on Edit, start retouching, You can work with the two windows. This on the right is going to be the version you're working on, and the image on the left is where you're going to edit from. So this is the DMAP version of the stacked image. I want to select the PMAX version, and then I want to edit um, yeah, the DMAP version from the PMAX version. So I can maximize that, and then I can press the S key on the keyboard, and that will toggle between that's the DMAP version, that's the PMAX version. The DMAP version of the image renders the out of focus areas better, and I think the PMAX version um, renders the in focus areas better. Zoom in on the image. The DMAP hasn't made a brilliant job of pulling out the detail here quite so much, whereas the PMAX version has. So I can draw on that, and it will just bring those areas through into the image from the PMAX version. It's a process of looking all around the image for anything that looks like the DMAP version hasn't rendered very well, and just pulling through the area from the PMAX. As you can see here, we've got some aphids, a dead one as well, that were sitting there. Fortunately, they stayed still for me. Well, suppose that one isn't going to move, but this one could have, but it didn't, which is really good. So I can see that Zareen Stacker hasn't done a brilliant job of rendering the area where this here meets the area just behind it. So what we can do is we can cycle through the individual images and find which one renders it best, and then just paint in from that single image. I'll make my brush a little bit smaller and just tidy that up a touch. So there we go. I think that's pretty much okay now. Go back to edit, commit retouching, and that will create a retouched version, which is just down there on the left hand side. And all I need to do is to save that. I do save it as a TIFF file. This will be the file that I will then import back into Capture One and then work on it from there. So let's save that. So that's saved now. Close that down. We can close the Zareen Stacker down. Back in Capture One, we can import that image that we've just saved from Zareen Stacker. And there it is. What we can do, I mean, this image is pretty clean actually. Sometimes you might want to do some healing. There might be some, I don't know, some hair or hairs or something that you just need to tidy up. Nothing I really need to do here apart from maybe I could use the spot removal tool. That is letter O on the keyboard, or click that there, and just remove some of these. I don't know, it isn't really going to make a lot of difference, but we can remove some of these imperfections here. So okay, we want to try to remove, I'll zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that little black line down there. So I will open up an adjustment layer, change it to be a heal layer. There's a shortcut on the keyboard for that, Control Alt H, um, change my cursor to a brush, press the Alt key down, it's a little bit smaller, press the Alt key down, and this is where I'm going to heal from, and then paint over that there, and hopefully that will have gone. So I'm pretty much happy with that. The next stage is to take it into Aurora HDR. So before I do that, I generally knock the contrast down and the saturation down, because Aurora HDR really bumps really bumps the contrast and the saturation up. So basically knock it down before I take it into Aurora HDR. And to do that, we can right click on the image and choose Edit with Aurora HDR. What this will do, it will create a TIFF file within Capture One, and then open up the Aurora HDR application, and I can then work on that copy of this file here within Aurora HDR, and then save it back to Capture One. So I'll open that. So it's over on the right, it's just created that copy of the TIFF file, and it's opening up Aurora HDR. Okay, so I don't know if that makes a lot of difference, to be honest, but I always check it and then create HDR. Aurora HDR is actually designed to accept multiple exposures and blend them together, but it can quite easily just work on one image as well. So here we go. Now, as you can see, that's already giving it a bit of punch to the colours. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play with the black point. I'm going to knock the black point down. I just want to darken the background here, this green. So I can take a brush and then paint that adjustment into just the green, just the background area. Now what I want to do is to basically save those brush strokes, add a new layer, new adjustment layer. And within Aurora HDR, you've got presets you can use. This is one I've created. And okay, it'll apply that to the whole image, which I don't want. I just want to paint bits of it in. And what I'm going to do is paint with the brush again and just bring some of these colours up. I've got my opacity at 100%, which can be too much. So I'm going to reduce my brush down to, I don't know, a third, 32%, that'll do. And we'll just try and paint some of this in. I think that will do. So I'll save that, and I think that's all I'm going to do here. So I'm going to export that out of Aurora HDR back into Capture One, back as a TIFF file. It's warning me that I'm going to overwrite the file that already is in Capture One, but that's exactly what I want to do, so I'm going to say yes. Go back to Capture One, and that is my new image. And it's just a case now in Capture One to try and tidy anything else up. What I generally do is, let's just play about with that. I generally, where can we go to? Here. Knock down the clarity and the structure. It does sort of reduce the sharpness, but when it's like that, it's just too much. Take it down to about there. Yeah, that's okay. I will bump up a bit of sharpness. And I think what I'll also do is a bit of dodging and burning. So if I open up a new layer, press B on the keyboard to open up the brush, reduce the brush size down, not the brightness down. Now, as you see, you can really notice that it looks unnatural what I've done at the moment. What I'll do is I'll reduce the opacity of the whole thing down in a little while. Right, okay, so we can then knock that right down. Yeah, so it looks sort of like more natural, down to about there maybe. Yeah, I like that. We can do a new layer and bump up the brightness and actually touch up anywhere where we want to just lighten it a bit. Okay, zoom back out and just adjust the opacity of that. Should go to about there. And finally, one more layer, and on this one I want to, what should we do, bump up the contrast a bit, clarity and structure, and just go around the edges to make sure we've got some sharpness there. So zoom in. Whoops. I'm going to do that. I wasn't very accurate, was I? And what I think I will do is just tone that down a bit as well. So let's zoom in, probably on those. So I reckon about there. There is a little bit, I think there's a tiny bit of colour fringing. Is there? Hardly as you'd notice, but let's see if we can get rid of that. So the turquoise colour, just want to try and get rid of that. If I sample that, check that I'm only targeting that colour, because I was a little bit worried that maybe I'd pick up the blue here, but no, it's got that grey. You can adjust it using these, you can make that much bigger, and you've got real fine control and capture one of your colours. And what we'll do is just take the saturation down, and that looks okay to me, I think. We could also try and do a bit with those greens in here and the yellow, try and separate those a little bit. So I'll go back to the colour, and if we select the green there and make it a bit more green maybe, actually we don't, so we're affecting the yellows there as well, aren't we? So if we adjust this, hopefully that'll just pick up the greens, saturate them a touch, a bit too much. Okay, I'll just move that over a touch more. So just hitting the greens, not the yellows. Yeah, and then we'll do the yellows, the yellow, is that yellow there? Okay, take it away from the green side, so we don't want to affect the greens that we just moved over to green, and we can make that a bit more yellow. Saturation, 20 touch. We brighten those up as well a little bit. Lighten them up, a bit more saturation. I want to go back to the greens and try and make those more green. Okay, so I think that's separated the yellows and the green colours apart from each other, which I think just adds a bit more to it. A lot of people might say I overdo it a bit there, but that's what I like. I think I'm happy with that. So what we'll do is we will output that ready to post to Hive. What do I want to do? Change that to, so short edge will be 3000 pixels, reduce the size down a bit, reduce the JPEG quality so we get to about a meg. That'll do, I think. And if we hit the process button, and there's the final image. Ta-da! Yep, I like that. Lovely. I'll post that in a moment. Well, actually, no, I won't post it in a moment because I've got to edit the video. Okay. Cheers. Bye.